and welcome to another episode on Maritime Radar. The Cabotage Act was passed into law on the 30th of April 2003 with the objective that it will stimulate the development of indigenous capacity in the Nigerian maritime industry and bring to an end foreign dominance in Nigeria's coastal trade. The implementation of this act was to rest on these four pillars. Cabotage vessels must be built by Nigerian shipyards, be wholly owned by Nigerians, must be operated by Nigerians, and lastly, must be registered in Nigeria. 20 years after, has the act been able to fulfill its mandate to empower indigenous shipping companies? Our focus today. Repositioning Africa's maritime industry towards economic growth and sustainability are some of the issues that will be on the front burner on today's show. I'm Nneoma Obi-Asualo. The Nigerian maritime cabotage laws evolved to add efficiency to the country's maritime industry, especially in the area of indigenous fleet expansion, shipbuilding, and human capacity development. The aim was to curtail foreign dominance and unequal competition by non-Nigerian operators. Since the enactment of the Cabotage Act, attempt at successful and beneficial implementation could not be achieved due to regulatory inadequacies. What is seen now includes foreign dominance, unfair competition, policy failure, institutional ineffectiveness, absence of stable local capacity, regulatory problems, fiscal deficiencies, and lack of political will by the government. In view of these inadequacies, appropriate remedial regulatory measures need to be considered, and quickly too. These include regulatory overhaul or ample review of all extant maritime laws which are no more relevant in a cabotage regime. There is need for institutional reforms which will engender adequate and effective monitoring and enforcement. Before we get further into today's lineup on the program, let's find out the latest in maritime news.
Tunisia's Coast Guard has recovered 15 more bodies of migrants who were on a wooden boat off the coast of the city of Sfax. The boat was said to be carrying about 110 migrants when it sank on Wednesday. While the death toll has risen to 25, 76 people were rescued, while the others are still missing. Drowning accidents off Tunisia's coast have dramatically increased in recent weeks, leaving dozens dead and missing, amid a sharp rise in migrant boats heading towards Italy. The Coast Guard recovered the bodies of 14 migrants, including 6 women from African countries and 1 Tunisian, who was the captain of the boat. Tunisia has taken over from Libya as a main departure point for people fleeing poverty and conflict in Africa and the Middle East in the hope of a better life in Europe. Secretary-General of the International Maritime Organization, Kitak Lim, has issued a statement saying that he is deeply concerned over the resurgence of piracy in the Gulf of Guinea following the kidnapping of 6 crew members from the Monjassa reformer and reports of another attack on the Success 9. Speaking on the incidents, Lim noted that the organization recognized the progress made since 2021 in the collective efforts to combat the threat of piracy and the resulting reduction in the number of pirate attacks. He said, the ongoing threat in the Gulf of Guinea must be addressed cohesively, involving all relevant actors and including regional entities. Maritime security firm EOS Risk Group says, latest boarding incident shows West African pirates' ability to carry out piracy further from shore. While there are specific concerns about security in the Gulf of Guinea, the International Maritime Bureau says that overall reported piracy incidents in the first quarter of 2023 were at the lowest Q1 figures since 1993. The date shows 27 reported incidents in the first 3 months of 2023, down from 37 in the same quarter of 2022. Vessels were boarded in 24 of the incidents, with 2 attempted incidents and 1 hijacking. 6 crew members were kidnapped, 2 were taken hostage, 1 was assaulted, and 2 threatened across the incidents, according to the piracy watchdog. The IMB said the Gulf of Guinea has been a hotbed of piracy and armed robbery in recent years, though only 5 cases were reported in the first quarter of 2023, down from 8 in first quarter of 2022 and 16 in the first quarter of 2021. South America accounted for a third of the reported incidents. Singapore's 8 recorded incidents is down from 15 in the first quarter of 2021, but still accounted for 30% of global incidents. Michael Howlett, the IMB director, says there is need for continued, robust and coordinated regional and international naval presence to act as a deterrent to prevent and respond to piracy.
Africa needs its own storytellers, people who understand the continent because they're from it. People who know that news is more than just a conversation starter, it's our stories. Because these stories run deeper than headlines and segments. It's about digging deeper to get the facts and telling the human side of every single story, not just the echoes from foreign headlines and perspectives. It's time to take back our narratives and share them in our voices. The birth of Africa's New Age reporting, and this is where it begins, right here at News Central TV, with stories that put Africa first.
If you're just joining us, this is Maritime Radar. Nigeria made a bold attempt to change the face of maritime business within its coasts when it enacted the Coastal and Inland Shipping Cabotage Act 2003. The question then will be, why has the maritime industry in Nigeria not benefited from the ambitious idea of cabotage? To shed light into this is Rollens Mcfoy, Executive Director, Ocean Deep Services Limited, and the President, Women in Maritime Nigerian Chapter. Stay with us. It's good to have you on the show. Let's start this conversation looking at the Cabotage Act, which is, the essence is to boost indigenous participation of Nigerians. Tell us about Cabotage Act. What is the set objectives and the role in maritime development?
Well, Inland Shipping Act, that's the Cabotage Act. It came into being in 2003 and came into force in 2004. A major reason why it came in was to protect local ship operators from foreign oppression. And cabotage has 4 pillars, meaning that the ship must be built in Nigeria, the ship must be registered in Nigeria, and manned by Nigerians and owned by Nigerians. But this is about 20-something years, 20 years exactly.
20 years exactly. April.
20 years
April.
exactly, April. Okay, 20 years exactly that cabotage was instituted or the law was enacted. But from my own personal view, I would say that we have not passed 30%. Even if I want to narrow it down, cabotage came in dead. That's what, like the medical would say, BID, brought in dead. Because I feel that the purposes for which cabotage came in have not been fulfilled. Why would I say that? Today, majority, 99%, we still have foreign vessels here in Nigeria working. Not only that, majority of the officers on board our vessels, which is the main essence of cabotage, to grow our professional GDP in seafaring.
Okay.
Most of the vessels still have all officers foreign.
So meaning that the set objectives were not met at all?
I wouldn't say they were not met at all, but if they were met, at what percentage?
Does it mean that this set objective not met is also the reason why maritime industry in Nigeria is yet to be developed to what we expect
Yes,
it for
because,
it to compete with other maritime nations?
We talk about local content and we talk about empowering the indigenous ship owners. How many indigenous ship owners do we have today? Okay, now NSDP program by NIMASA to train seafarers outside the country. Very good program. A lot of Nigerians, over 3,000 if I'm not making mistake, youths have been trained. But when they come back, these vessel owners, are they making chances for them? These students or these professionals have to fight for their life. Most of them are on the street roaming. Most of them would not work for 2-3 years before they get one contract. I say this because I am at the helm of that affair. I man vessels and I know the problems.
So why continue training them when they don't have opportunity for sea time training?
Well, then what NIMASA has done now is creating opportunity for them outside the country for sea time training.
Okay.
But
how has that fared?
This is very good to create sea time training opportunities with them in collaboration with companies or another country and all that. But come on, we're talking about Nigeria.
Okay, share with us the consequences of or the lack of enforcement of this or implementation of this Cabotage Act. What has been the consequences?
Like I said, it is supposed to protect local ship owners. It's also supposed to increase our professional GDP. It's also supposed to create revenue, create professionalism, bring about technical, innovations and improvements, and so many. But where have we been? What have we achieved this?
So do you think it's a mere revenue yielding act?
For now, I think so, because it's yielding revenue through the waivers and then through the 2% charge on 2% charge on cargo. Total contract form. If you have a cargo, the total contract sum, you pay the 2% to NIMASA.
Okay, let us go.
And that is that CVFF fund we're talking about.
Okay, if you've reeled out the benefits this Cabotage Act is to bring to us, why is it that we are not benefiting from this ambitious Cabotage Act? Why are we not doing something to benefit from it? Why? Is it political will? What exactly is the problem?
I think it's political will. 2 years ago, I was privileged to, I think March sometime, 2021 or thereabouts, I was privileged to be in Abuja for the repeal of the Cabotage Act. We don't know. We made our submissions. Where are we? One of the greatest, demerits of this is that, take for instance, a foreigner who is in Nigeria, vessel, probably you are an AB, we'll call them able-bodied seaman, you earn $1,500 or $2,000 or $2,500, depending on the vessel and depending on the owner, depending on the salary scale, okay? But a Nigerian that is also an AB on same vessel could earn like 200,000. Look at the disparity. In the last 20 years, we have been trying to get a specialized pay, or will I say, mapped out pay for the different categories of seafarers.
And it's not been able to.
That you cannot go below.
Okay. And that has not seen the light of day.
It has not seen the light of the day.
Sad. We will look at foreign dominance, but that will be after this short break. Please stay with us.
News Central TV, Africa's #1 storyteller, has come with the best of both worlds. With a combination of news app and live TV, we ensure that you keep track of the latest headlines, breaking news, and in-depth analysis from professional journalists from around the continent. Download the News Central TV app on Android and iOS and get started today. Don't forget to follow us on News Central's social media platforms. News Central, Africa First.
If you are just joining us, this is Maritime Radio, and I still have with me in the studio Rollens Mcfoy. Before we went on that break, I was asking, how are we going to address the continued dominance of foreign operators in this cabotage trade?
Like you said before the break, political will has a lot to do with this. They need to come up and repeal that act, and they need to come up with stringent policies to make room for the locals. Because when you allow the foreign vessels to come in and operate with their own rules and regulations, with their own laws and all that, then what are we doing? So, you know, for instance, if every, let me put it this way, let's say we have 2,000 vessels in Nigeria working in at different capacities, different metric tons and all that. I'm just doing a rough estimate, both the tugboats, whatever supply, tanker, VLCCs. Let's say we have 2,000. If every of that vessel is mandated to take, like, depending on their capacity, between 1 and 5 cadets working on these different vessels, then I can assure you in the next 5 years, we have rooted professionals.
Do you think our government don't understand this, or they don't just have the political will to implement this?
They
this
do understand it, one.
And they understand the implications.
They understand the implications, but I think they are just feeling that there are too many things. What is this?
So who will build the cat?
Legislators. Because legislators are also in charge of placing people in the MASA, MPA, and all that. So that's why we are crying for legislators that are rooted in professionalism. You might not be a maritime person, but you are well-read. Not just well-read, you understand this business, and you know what to do. Not just about the maritime, but several other businesses. Like we're talking about African Trade Affector now, we need the government to really look into it, because the angle through which they are looking into it now is going to be another cabotage.
Okay.
Take, for instance, Federal School of Fisheries and Marine Technology Oceanography.
Okay.
Is supposed to be under Ministry of Agriculture. But what is their relationship? And what has it amounted to in terms of professionalism and proper placing of the certificates and all that? For a long time, that school was relegated to the background. I think in the last 2 years, it has started coming up. I'm not too sure what has been done.
Okay, away from that, let's look at the activities. You are the president of Women in Maritime Africa Nigerian chapter. Let's look at the activities of your association. What have you done about mentorship, sensitization, and ensuring that women take leadership positions in the maritime industry?
Well, first of all, I will say that Women Africa is a baby of the African Union. When Dr. Nsakosa Zuma was the chairperson of the African Union, in one of the conferences in 2013 rather, she saw the need for women in the maritime industry to be integrated into mainstream participation and to come to limelight, because it's a male-dominated industry, like you can see. And then of course, the women in the industry were just to be heard and not seen, and they were not much. And so the reason for WIM Africa. So today we have WIM Africa in 28 countries. Nigeria happened to be one of the countries. And in WIMA Nigeria, like we say, we have WIMA Togo, WIMA Ghana, and all that, you know. So in WIMA Nigeria, we have taken up the call. You know, the call is basically on blue economy, harnessing the benefits of blue economy. You understand? And when you talk about blue economy is encompassing. Very, very encompassing. Everything that happens in the sea is blue economy. Because if the sea is not blue, then there's not going to be anything. And you agree with me that the sea brings about 90% of the economy of every nation. Because you want to talk about everything is transported through the sea. All importations. The dress you are wearing, the biro, whatever, your shoes, your hair, everything came through importation. And then, of course, we have coastal trades also. You understand? And so this is the blue economy. Now, what are the benefits? For women, you know, we have trained and retrained and are still training so many that are interested in this profession. We are lauding it loud and clear that this profession is not only meant for the men. It shouldn't be a male-dominated industry. Even if they dominate, let's say 60-40 is okay, but now it's less than 2%. The whole world, you understand? And then there has been this belief that women cannot do technical jobs, especially when it has to do with the sea, in the ship, in the water, cannot navigate and all that. But today we are having female engineers, chief engineers for that matter, and we have female captains. As a matter of fact, the first ASD captain is a female in Nigeria, and the first female ASD captain, you know. And then not only that, blue economy goes down to the littlest thing that comes from the sea, like fish, shrimps. How can they be protected? How can the lives be protected? How can these things be? Because if these things die, there will be no sea anymore. A lot of people don't know that. So we have carried out crusades regarding, you know, the litter, marine litter, especially plastics, nylons, cellophanes, how to, you know, stop people from this pollution. It takes like over 1,000 or 2,000 years for plastic to decay, if it will decay at all. And this is where I also say again, political will, government. If you go to places like UK now, even the McDonald's and Co, they don't sell with plastics anymore. They sell with paper bags. But here, we are still plastic paper bag. Everywhere is plastic paper bag. And then at the end of it all, everything ends up in the sea. It can interest you that if a whale swallows plastic, now it will die. Because it will block the esophagus or whatever, anything, and the whale will not be able to eat. Because whatever it eats comes out because the plastic is there, so, and it dies. And same thing happens to other sea animals. So this crusade is very, very important. Next month, we are also carrying the same crusade, which we hold at Liverpool Under Bridge. We want to do it in conjunction with LASWA, because it's very important. That Liverpool Under Bridge is where most of the canoes come, and a lot of women are selling there, and we need to sensitize them on how not to duplicate our waters. Then in the past years, like I said, we have liaised with IMO that have given training to most of our women in professional areas, and then we have also donated fishing nets and oven to the local women in Makoko and other areas, that you can't you can't neglect any aspect of this blue economy. So it's not only sheep and people and all that. We have so many aspects of it. We're talking about climate change. We train our women to understand what climate change is all about and to know how not to deplete the air. Climate change, it might surprise you, starts from your home. Your gas, your firewood, your stove. How did all the fumes go? And what are we talking about climate change? Even the litter starts from your home. People don't handle their litters very well in their home. A lot of people throw it in the gutters. A lot of people throw on the streets. And is our Nneoma so active as to get all of them? Where do they go?
To our waters.
They go to our waters. Because that's virtually the only place. We also talk to ship owners. We also talk to the various seafarers, because there's a specialized way to dispose waste on vessels. And there are specialized area in the water to dispose waste. We also talk about ballast water. In the ship, there's what we call ballast water. And this ballast water come with specimens. You know, they come with all sorts of organisms and all that. So we are particular about the disposal of ballast water. You know, when we talk about ballast water, let me throw a little more light. When a ship is sailing, especially a tanker vessel is sailing, if it's a big one or little, it can't sail, it can't be balanced if it doesn't have something in it.
Okay.
You understand? Okay. And so, what do? You take water from the sea. Assuming you're coming from France, you take a little water to balance the vessel so it can sail properly, so that the wave will not be against it. And then it comes to Nigeria. If you just discharge that water in Nigeria, you might be bringing an invasive organism into this country that is going to spoil the water, because you don't know what the water contains. So right now, we're talking about treatment of ballast water before you dispose of it, and how do you treat it, and where is the special place to do it. All these things are water, blue economy.
Good work, I must say, you are doing with your association, and this is a fine place to end this interview. It's been Rollens Mcfoy. She is the President, Women in Maritime Africa Nigerian chapter. Many thanks for sharing your thoughts on the program.
Thank you, Nneoma.
And that's our show this week. I hope you enjoyed it. I did. Every week, join us on Maritime Radar as we explore factors that will ensure the development of the maritime sector in Africa. You can also expect the latest in global maritime news and industry insights right here. I'm Nneoma Obi-Asualo. Many thanks for your time.